So hello and welcome to the Lewis Nichols Show. I'm really excited to bring on my next guest, who's just basically told me that he's battered the place where I live on FIFA. So let's say hello to Tom Gregory. How are you?
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Yeah.
We were just talking before we come on then about kind of lockdown, keeping yourself busy, and you kind of said it's either playing games, getting fat, that kind of stuff. So what have you been doing during lockdown to actually keep yourself occupied?
Yeah, Matt, just just trying to be creative as possible. That's obviously quite hard. I think like traveling's quite a lot of induces quite a lot of my creativity, and obviously we can't do that. And I've only been travelling for work really, so it's not been too inspiring. But yeah, just a lot of that. Trying to be as creative as possible. A lot of FIFA. Trying to order a new PS5 is like gold dust, by the way. So if there's anyone out there that knows anyone at PlayStation, then send one my way. But yeah, man, just trying to, I guess what everyone else is doing. We're all human. We all go for a number two. So just trying to be creative, trying to just distract myself really.
Well, I was going to say
it's hard.
A really kind of whirlwind few years for you, probably 3 years in the sense of your music just taking off to another level. So growing up, was working as an artist something that you always wanted to do, or was there kind of something else that you were looking towards?
I think I really wanted to start being a musician when I was probably about 13 or 14. I think before that you go through, you watch like, Nadal at Wimbledon and you want to be a tennis player, and then, suddenly you want to be an astronaut the next day. And so, I went kind of through the mill with that. And, but I started to get really into my dad's old record collection and CD collection when I was like 12, 13. And then, just through like a kind of naive love of music, I then gave songwriting a go. And yeah, ever since, like 14, I've just, it's been like more of a need than a want. And yeah, I stupidly, or well, not stupidly in hindsight, chose to try and pursue it as a career, not realizing how difficult it would be. I think if I'd have known beforehand, I probably wouldn't have tried it. I'd have been too scared. And yeah, and somehow, obviously you need a little bit of luck and you need the stars to align for you. But I've just ended up here and doing what I love. And to be honest, I do feel like the luckiest man in the world. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but yeah.
No, it did. And I was going to say, when you look at starting off, you said, what a difficult kind of industry it is. But for you, your debut single, getting over 25 million streams, which is just incredible. So when you obviously first put out your debut track, did you ever anticipate it to get the reaction that it did? Because that must have made you just feel like, do you know what? I'm on the right direction here.
I tell you what it was, man. I didn't, none of that even entered my mind because I was so new to it all. I just wanted to make music and see where it took me. I didn't consider what would be success and what wouldn't be. I didn't, even think of 25 million streams or 1 million streams. I just honestly didn't think about it. I kind of just released it, hoping that it'd do well enough so that my label didn't drop me. And, like, obviously looking back now, it's just absolutely unbelievable, like coming out with a brand new artist with a single and it getting, like 25 million streams is pretty crazy. But at the time, I didn't really think about it. I think it was just kind of to say it simply, it was quite pure, really. I just thought, yeah, wow, I'm lucky to be here. They flew me out to LA to film the music video, and which in hindsight I hate because I've since then grown a beard and chopped my hair off, and I don't look like a 15-year-old boy anymore. But, So yeah, man, it's been an absolute whirlwind, and looking back, it's a real mammoth achievement. I think, you know, especially in this market that we're in, it's very hard for new artists to break through. Yeah, unbelievable. You can probably see that it's hard for me to articulate because it is such like a massive, you know, it's such a massive achievement. I'm just very grateful. You know, I've got a great team behind me. I've got great producers that I work with and great songwriters who are all my best friends. I don't kind of, you know, I record everything in my hometown. I don't fly to LA to go and record in fancy studios to write the songs that I am. It's just kind of all made in my hometown, up in Cleveland, outside of Blackpool in the north. And yeah, just keeping it all like it's always been. And I think that's really important, you know, surrounding yourself with good people. And yeah, again, I've gone off the beaten track with that answer. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I mean,
I have a knack of doing it. I have a knack of doing it. People are probably clicking on videos of cats by now. If you've made it this far in the interview, then well done.
I mean, I first discovered you when I heard Fingertips on Spotify, and I just became a fan straight away because that single was just the best that I heard in a long time. And you know, obviously yourself, how well that's done. So for you to work so hard on something and then it getting such a good reception, does that make it kind of feel so worthwhile for you as an artist?
Yeah, because I think that we can talk about numbers all day long and, you know, gold records or number one here, number one there. But at the end of the day, in its simplest form, you just want to be heard. And whether people take it positively or negatively, you know, you just want your song to be put out there so that people can judge it. And a lot of people don't even get that opportunity. So yeah, man, it's absolutely outrageous. I think, I don't even know what streams that's on exactly. I think it's on like 60, 70 million streams or something stupid.
Crazy.
And yeah, I'm just kind of like, that is ridiculous. You know, a song that I literally wrote in this house actually, and recorded in a studio that we use in a garage just there. And it's been heard by like, yeah, 60, 70 million people only on Spotify. I don't even know what the statistics for the other streaming services are, but yeah, probably like nearly 100 million people now. So it's just like absolutely outrageous. And I honestly, like I said, alluded to before, you know, I'm just a pretty normal guy. I'm like a beer drinking, burger eating Northern English boy. And I, you know, all of this kind of cool stuff that's happening is just completely alien to me. And the fact that, you know, people like yourself are like interested in what I've got to say, it's absolutely barking mad for me. So yeah, I'm super proud. I'm super proud and absolutely, yeah, just amazed that people are that interested. It's mental.
I mean, before we get on to your album, I wanted to talk about you working. Am I getting the producer's name right? Because I love the track, but is it Vise?
Vise,
yeah. Vise, yeah. How did that kind of collaboration come about? Did they approach you? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, again, it was just a really, I say again, I've not spoken about it to you before. I sound like a footballer now. They always say that, don't they? No, yeah. You know, I've known the guys in Vise for a few years, and we've just never worked together. And they've got quite a successful, or they started to have a successful career out in Germany, where I was quite big as well at the time, my biggest market. And yeah, we just said to each other, you know, I think it'd be cool if we just tried something. They approached me actually and said, you know, let's try and write something. Let's see what it sounds like. You know, it's not a collaboration that you would usually expect from two such like opposite artists. But as you've just seen with Medusa and Dermot Kennedy, you know, it just kind of works. And, you know, these DJs and urban artists right now are kind of the modern rock stars of today, really, whether people like it or not. Personally, I don't care. I just love music. But, you know, it just made absolute sense for us to try it. And yeah, I flew to Berlin. We created what is now Never Let Me Down, and just mental really, because again, it was one of those things where we presumed it would do well, in the sense that, you know, at the time Fingertips was, I think, #1 on German radio, and they'd had a load of gold records out earlier in the year and earlier the year before, and we just thought, yeah, you know, a few people might like this one, and also think that, you know, or also be interested in the fact that it's such a weird collaboration. You know, I'm from an indie background and they're from a slap house, really hardcore dance background. Yeah, and then we put it out, and you know, again, absolutely just mind-boggling. This year, it just feels like I've released songs and we can't really do anything wrong, which is an amazing position to be in. I'm kind of waiting for that to stop. But yeah, I think I've just collected a few gold records from different countries for that song, and I think we're on like 100 million streams, and just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy, mate. Yeah, and again, it's just like I said before, it happened really organically, and I've known them for a few years, and it's just great. You know, you make music with nice people that you like, and you don't expect it to get like 100 odd million streams, and it does. And yeah, now we're here talking about it. It's mental.
I mean, you were just saying before then that you were you've had all this success and you're almost at the stage where you're waiting for it to stop. But I mean, your debut album is out now, Heaven in a World So Cold. And honestly, I'm not just saying it because you're on a show. It's absolutely incredible. It's full of emotion. It's raw. And it just feels like there's years of your life that's just been put into this album. So going back to kind of putting this together, how long did it take? And because it feels like a lot of your life is in this. I got to know a lot more from you, I guess, from listening to this.
That fills me with great pleasure that you say that. So thank you very much. You know, it's just been a collection of ideas over 5 years, really. Since, you know, I was 19, 20. There's one song on there called By Your Side, which I actually wrote when I was 16. But most of them are just, ideas kind of from the last 5 years, from being a boy and growing up into a man, into a 25-year-old I am now. And yeah, basically it is just that. It covers 3 main topics that I think all great albums do, which is love, loss, and growing up. And yeah, I'm really happy that a lot of people seem to be connecting with it on a quite deep level, because it is basically just a diary of my boyhood into manhood. And yes, I'm not really sure what else to say, but it's basically just a collection of my experiences and thoughts over the last 5 years. Kind of worries me now writing the second album, because I'm at the point where the first one took me 5 years to make and collect, and now I don't have 5 years to make the second one. Probably got more like 6 to 8 months. So,
I mean, one thing I did want to ask, does it add, because of how personal this album is to you, does it make it more nerve-wracking? Does it make you anxious when you are putting it out there, because you're essentially putting your life out there to everyone to listen to? So was there that element of kind of, is this going to do well? What are people going to think about it?
Yeah, I think I alluded to it before. I'm quite lucky. The people I work with, my producer Matt James, I'm at his house now, and the people that we write with, they're all my best mates, and it's very easy for me to open up to them. I think it is scary, putting it into the cosmos, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, into the world, because it's like someone reading your diary, basically. And especially, people like my parents, when, maybe sometimes it's not nice. Some songs were actually that personal, they didn't make the album because I didn't feel ready to release them. But it's not people that I don't know hearing them, it's people that I do know hearing them, and maybe feeling sorry for me in some way, or feeling like, there were some songs I didn't put on the album that are really personal about, home life or relationship life. And my big worry is that, people that I know hear it and are like, oh my God, we didn't know that you were going through that. But that's just I obviously don't want that. But no, it is quite hard. It's always a battle. Especially, let's face it, especially when you're writing pop music as well, you don't want to be too, you don't want to be too selfish in a way, because you want people to understand it. I've got loads of songs that I'll send over to management that are really deep and sound quite sad, and they're like, yeah, it's quite selfish though, isn't it? Do we really want to put 12 songs on the record that are all about you? not all about you, but all about your pain. At the end of the day, I've got to tour them, so should take a few happy people. But no, yeah, I think it's always hard. I think you just have to push past it, you know. And the beauty of music is people always take their own meaning from songs anyway. So,
I mean, one of the tracks I did want to talk about, because you know when you listen to a song and you really get you just focus into it and it takes you into a different world. On your album, for me, it was Sink or Swim. It was just one of those tracks I was listening to. I was like, wow, and that's kind of like my go-to song if you just need to relax and chill. What was that song about? Because it has like I was trying to work out what it could be about, and I'm assuming potentially a breakup, but it's such a deep and emotive track.
Absolutely. So it was, I went through a horrendous breakup at the start of this year, and we were looking for a 12th song on the album. And I wanted to kind of create something like a ballad, but that still kind of felt threaded into the album. Hence that on the last chorus, for anyone who's heard it, you'll know that there's like a big crash at the end where the chorus explodes and the song gets big. And yeah, I went through a horrendous breakup. I kind of spiraled into a really bad depression, of which I had to go and get a lot of help for. And I stooped very low, and a lot of people around me had to help me. And yeah, with me growing up by the sea, I kind of wanted to create this. I always had the analogy in my head of me coming out of that relationship that I was stuck in the ocean in a paddle boat with basically no oar or rudder, and that I'd just been left to drown, basically. And that's where the idea for Sink or Swim came. And I always imagined my songs in music video form, and I just imagined me being kind of dumped into the ocean and swimming back to shore. And that's really how the song came about, man. Just a really horrendous breakup, and going through a really deep depressive state for like 4, 5, 6, 7 months. And I'm glad you like it, because it's actually one of, it is the most personal song on the record for me. And I think one that I'm most proud of, just because I think it's very hard to release songs like that. It is like putting your diary out there. Yeah. It's mad. It's nice therapy though, in a way. It also helps other people. I get a lot of messages from people saying, this has helped me through this. This has helped me through this. So yeah, it's nice. It's like a double therapy. I get to help people and help myself.
I mean, for me, you literally define the difference between a singer and an artist, because the incredible songwriting, everything that goes into your music. And I'm not just saying it again because you're on the show. Anyone that listens to this, we're going to play the track at the end on the show today. But it's absolutely incredible, everything that goes into it. And I know we talked earlier, you mentioned that you've got a massive following in Germany. So how did that kind of come about? Because I know you're doing well in the UK at the moment, but you're loved in Germany. So, I mean, where did the love come from and how did it all happen?
Well, the honest answer is, mate, that as I started my music career, as I started trying to make a music career for myself, nobody in the UK was interested in signing me. And I'd made some connections over in Germany. I'd done some songwriting and a few little small gigs out there. And I just so happened to find the label that I'm with now. And they offered me a deal based on the fact that they heard my first single, which was just a demo at the time. We spoke about my first single before. It was called Run to You. They heard that, and they signed me on a 2-album deal, basically, just off of hearing that song. So yeah, it kind of just started for the simple reason that no one here wanted to sign me. But in hindsight, it's been amazing. It's been immense for my career, because in Europe, I find that labels and industry people alike are a little bit more patient with new and upcoming artists, which is no criticism of how things are done in the UK. It's just done differently. And in my case, it's been from releasing my first single to releasing my album, it was 3 years. So maybe I wouldn't have had that time in the UK to really develop. And, in the last 12 months, I've had a gold record in France and gold record in Austria and Switzerland and Poland and other places. So it's then kind of filtered into all of the other big territories in Europe. And I would say that had it not have been for the patience of my record label, then that probably wouldn't have happened. So yeah, nobody wanted to sign me, and I was broke, and I had no other option, and I went to Germany.
Well, what's next for you now? Because obviously I know with this lockdown, it's hard for you to go out and obviously do gigs and promote the music the way that you obviously normally would with live shows. But what going forward, what can we expect? Because we've got this album, and I know you said you've got a few months now to put the next one together. But is there any other projects that you're working on that you can tell us about?
I'm doing a lot of songwriting for other artists. I can't say who, but I'm just working. I'm doing that. That's kind of nice for me. It's like writing with no pressure. I really love writing with other artists. Hopefully you'll get to hear some of those next year. But apart from that, mate, to be honest, I'm just working on the next sound for the next record, and I'm kind of figuring out what that is. It's always hard because your second album is the most important one of your career, really. It's got to be better than the first, and if it's not, you're probably back to square one. So I'm kind of working out how to develop this sound. I think the best musicians of all time are chameleons, and they do change and they adapt, but not too much. You know, you're not going to hear me doing a ska metal album next time round. It's still very much going to be Tom Gregory at the core, but I do think, you know, I need to adapt it, and I'm kind of just figuring out what that is at the moment. So yeah, that's going to take a bloody long time, if I'm being honest.
I mean, you mentioned that about writing for other artists. I've always been fascinated because when you write a track and then you have to give it over, is there never a time where you're kind of like, do you know what, that's really good, I want it for myself? Like, it must be hard to put pen to paper and then have to give it away to somebody else to go and perform and, you know, have it as their own.
I think when I write for me, I'm in a completely different mindset than when I write for someone else. And usually in my case, I will write with the other artist in the room. So we always know kind of before we start that it's going to be for them. Whereas, you know, if the idea is to write something for me, I'm kind of in a completely different, I'm in a different headspace altogether, because then it is all about me. I have to write completely selfishly. But, you know, yeah, there have been times where I've written songs that for me in mind, and they just maybe didn't make the cut, and I've had to give them away, and I felt like, maybe I could have kept that for me. But yeah. I think what you've always got to consider is we write so many songs as, well, certainly in my case, I'm sure there are other artists out there that do the same. You know, I write so many songs, hundreds of songs, most of them you're never going to hear. So the other way I see it is that it's also a waste that these songs don't get heard. So might as well give them away.
Well, honestly, Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I've wanted you on, and I've been sending lots of emails to make it happen. So thank you, and thanks for the music as well. It genuinely is incredible, and you've done so well with it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you. Thanks,
Matt, and please get in touch and have us back on. Have us. I'm on my own. Have me back on. I hate it. I'm literally. I'm my own. I'm criticizing myself here when I say that I hate that, because I watch other artists do it all the time, and I can understand why now, because
there's more to it, I guess. With producing stuff, you're including.
Yeah. Please, what I wanted to say was, please have me back on whenever you feel necessary. I will always. I will love to come back on.